It is Tuesday, the 26th of March, 2024. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. This is news to 6 a.m. on News Power Digital. $6.54 billion is the amount of value-added tax refund still outstanding as of January 31st, 2024. This from Finance Minister Colin Imber, who told the Senate on Monday the figure fluctuates from month to month based on the government's cash flow. He was asked by the opposition through Senator Damian Leiter what is being done to ensure the situation is being addressed and if government has a formula to deal with the outstanding arrears. In response, Minister Imber said the government is actively working on it. Increased teamwork among stakeholders is one of the measures being taken to address an increase in digital gender-based violence and child abuse in this country. Minister of National Security Fitzgerald Hines provided details on the measures in the Senate yesterday, Monday. Hines revealed various steps being taken to tackle the serious concern and made up of the collaborative efforts from government and law enforcement agencies, healthcare providers, schools, community organizations, adding this collaboration is vital and necessary. Meanwhile, a breakdown given of vacant positions in the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, TNT Regiment, and the TNT Coast Guard. Minister Hines provided the information outlining the number of vacant positions by rank and number of officers in acting positions. It was indicated recruitment and promotions have been taking place to ensure the security organizations function at full capacity. The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service has admitted it owes businessman Inshan Ismail $0.8 million for maintenance of vehicles undertaken by his company in the police service. The admission was in stark contrast to previous claims by attorneys from the Office of the Attorney General in January, which said there were no records showing any contracts between Inshan Ishmael's company, ROC, and the TTPS. Therefore, the attorneys had contended no such monies was owed to Ishmael by the state for any such services. However, during a virtual hearing before Justice Carol Gobin held yesterday, State Attorney Avion Romain backtracked on the previous contention and instead confirmed that Inshan Ishmael was still owed $834,405.21 for the works carried out between 2018 and 2021. It is simply outrageous that a sitting police commissioner would adopt I have plenty work to do stance in defense of a 7-year delay in granting firearm users licenses to an applicant. Furthermore, aspirants to high office should not allow its allure to distract them from the onerous obligations such offices impose. Instead, the imperative for those aspirants are fit for purpose, equipped, capable addressing with sound judgment and clarity multiple obligations which the office imposes. This from Justice Frank C. Prasad, who made a statement yesterday declaring that Police Commissioner Earl Harewood Christopher's failure to continuously delay deciding whether to grant or deny FUL applications by a Tobago businessman was unreasonable and a conflict with the policy set out in Section 17 of the Firearm Users Act and unlawful and illegal. Businessman Fionn Solomon brought the judicial review claim having not received the FUL for close to 7 years after he first applied. The judge has ordered Christopher to make a decision on the application within the next 28 days. Tabaquite MP Anita Haynes-Allen yesterday joined the short list of United National Congress MPs in support of colleague Rushton Parry's call for internal elections to be called. Haynes-Allen disagreed that Parry's call for internal elections was an attack or an attempt to destabilize the party. However, she said she supports the opposition leader, Kamala Persad-Bissessar, as party leader. Haynes-Allen said an internal election would only invigorate the party and put them on a stronger footing to fight the upcoming general polls against the People's National Movement. In news of the region, the presidents of Guyana and Suriname have instructed their respective officials to enter the next phase of the construction of a bridge over the Quarantine River linking the two countries. A joint statement issued following recent talks between President Dr. Mohamed Irfan Ali and Suriname's counterpart Chandrik Prasad Shukti noted the officials will now engage in discussions on prices, technical aspects, financing, and operational modalities with a common goal to optimizing affordability and concessionality. And finally, homes belonging to music mogul Sean P. Diddy Combs was searched by authorities on Monday because he's the target of a federal investigation carried out by the Department of Homeland Security that handles human trafficking crimes, according to senior law official enforcement briefed on the investigation. The probe is being led by U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York and carried out by the Department of Homeland Security investigators, Trans-Organized Crime Division. The investigation stems from many of the same allegations put forward by several civil lawsuits filed by U.S. people against Combs with sexual assault, one being in December in federal court that also included sexual trafficking allegations, according to a second law enforcement source familiar with Monday's searches. Combs had previously denied those allegations. There are also unconfirmed reports that Sean Diddy Combs' private jet was seen heading for the Caribbean for an unconfirmed island. And that is news to 6 a.m. right here on News Power Digital. We'll have major news coming your way at 7 a.m. Good morning.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
It is 7.5 minutes after the hour of 6 o'clock on this, the 26th day of March. Hope you guys had a great evening. Thank you so much for joining us on the Power Breakfast Show. Of course, on the show this morning is the RS Twins. We just heard from Super Paul, Dr. Paul Richards. We'll hear from Richard Ragoobarsingh. We got Ruben. We've got Shane in the mix. My name is Steve Khan. Quickly getting into see what's happening on the highways. I have nothing to tell you about. Nothing. Nada. Nothing. All right? It is 24 degrees at Piarco International Airport, 26 at Crown Point in Tobago. And yesterday was the hottest day for the year thus far, with a maximum forecast at, maximum temperature at Piarco International Airport, 34.9 degrees. Ouch. That's hot. Yesterday was a scorcher. Anyway, before I say hellos to those on YouTube, Facebook, and WhatsApp, let's say good morning going out to Super Paul.
Morning, everyone. Good morning, Steve.
Morning, Paul. What's happening? I'm
tired.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I was tired yesterday, boy. Oh, it was a day. But anyway, hope all is well with you. Of course, let's say good morning going out to Wendy and James out in San Juan, Oliver Man Warren, Marcia Rock in Florida, Boy Bedisi, Godcilia in Valencia, D. Pierre, good morning to you. Rena Budu Jennings, good morning. Carol Guevara, morning to you as well. Wayne B. in Covington, Georgia. John Keto, Nikisha Pierre out in Brazil Village. Good morning to you. Sherwin Kerr. Morning. Trini B. Gloria Gray. Maria Celia. Isasha out in London. Morning. Huda Wells. Trinidad Margot. CJ out in New York. Miguel, good morning to you. On WhatsApp, we've got Dan Raj in Central, we got Kerwin, we got Sankofa, good morning. Alan Reese, JM, Dexter, Anthony, good morning to you as well. All right, Trudy B just snuck in there. Trudy B is saying the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore, it collapsed. A container ship hit it at 1:27 this morning. Of course, the whole bridge collapsed, and of course, they caught it on video.
Somebody sent the video for me. I put it up just now.
Yeah.
Amazing how easy it collapsed.
Yeah, just 20 people are believed to be in the water. Of course, they have a press conference coming up in about 5 minutes' time. But that thing just went, and it's a major artery as well. So I know How are they going to deal with that? Yeah, I'm watching it now. Actually, it just so easily came down, and they're saying a rig was on the bridge as well.
Hmm.
Hope all survive. Von Drayton, Mrs. R, good morning to you as well. Yeah. All
That
right.
is scary.
Yeah, imagine driving on the road, and like how you do it, you drive and you're singing along to ABBA, and all of a sudden the bridge is like a
I
movie.
don't sing along to ABBA.
Sing along to Bungie Garlin.
Yes.
Gotta get a
Oh,
contract.
please. Who doesn't sing along to ABBA?
I don't
Paul.
sing along to ABBA.
Especially in your age group.
Paul, he doesn't sing along.
Especially in your age group.
Dancing Queen.
You see, you know it.
No,
I know it, but I don't sing along to it.
he said, money, money, money.
Must be funny
No, it's,
in a rich
Yeah,
man's
really.
world.
it's too early for this torture.
But copyright strike there already. But you know, I
Way
hit
too
those
early for
notes
this
correctly, so the algorithm picked it up.
Mhm.
Good morning, Mr. Ragoobarsingh.
Good morning, guys. And good morning to our listeners / viewers, wherever you are across this planet. And good morning to you. Some terrible news out of the United States this morning
Yeah, and Baltimore Bridge, yeah.
at that Baltimore Bridge. My sister used to live in Baltimore at the
Mhm.
time, and so I used to be very familiar with Baltimore. So I used to, and you know what? Baltimore is so close. Well, they say Baltimore. It's so
Baltimore.
close. It's so close to Washington D.C. It's like a 20-minute, 30-minute train ride. So by extension, I used to go to D.C. to hang out. I had a couple of friends who lived in D.C. So I'd go out, hang out with them, and take the train back.
Mm-hmm.
I still go to Baltimore regularly. My cousins live in Baltimore.
Mm.
And I take the bus or the train into DC to go to Union Station or Continental Hall sometimes.
Mm. They have a nice waterfront too in that city, Baltimore. They have a nice waterfront that was developed and stuff.
It's a very nice place.
I don't know how it is now. But that was years.
Good morning, Sean P. Diddy Coombs, wherever
Mm.
you are in the Caribbean.
Well, his plane is in Antigua.
And you
They
confirm
raided
that?
they raided a couple of his homes yesterday, but they didn't say for what reason.
You know that it's not been confirmed, right, Stephen? Nobody's no
just-
international agencies carrying that.
It just ran on our ticket tape there just now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was on
really.
CNN yesterday. I think.
Yeah,
That the plane in Antigua?
yeah.
No.
Exactly. That the house was raided.
No, they didn't
The
say
houses were
he's in
raided.
None
Antigua.
of them are carrying that the plane is
They,
in Antigua.
they tracked his private jet in Antigua, but they don't know if he's there. They did raid his LA and Miami homes.
But I didn't say for what reason though.
Sex trafficking investigations.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yep. Following multiple civil cases. Yep. Sex trafficking allegations by the FBI. Homes belonging to Sean P. Diddy Combs' children, with his two sons are in handcuffs in front of the house. He's the target of a federal investigation carried out by the Department of Homeland Security, that handles human trafficking crimes. The probe is being led by U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, the Department of Homeland Security Investigations, Transnational Organized Crime Division.
Mm-hmm.
The crap just got real for Diddy Combs. Yeah. Diddy, you're in trouble, boy.
You have a kind of glee in your voice that I'm not
I
sure.
know, I'm not thinking that.
Yeah, I'm not sure
No
where it's
glee.
coming from.
No glee. Well, based on what Cassandra Cassie, I forget her surname, was paid off for last year,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't discount having a little glee in my voice if he that sick. based on her affidavits. Just saying.
Here.
Yeah, I have the bridge falling.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. Look at that.
Look how easy that collapsed.
It just crumbled. I mean, it just crumbled.
That's crazy.
Craziness.
I mean, no part of the bridge stay up, you know.
Mm-mm.
That is astounding.
Yeah,
And there's a ship right there.
wow. You crossing that bridge and seeing it collapsing in front of you, and you can't do anything.
Nope.
And then you feel the bridge giving way under your vehicle.
They say how many cars they say were on it? About 20?
They said 20 people were in the water.
Oh, okay. Maybe it wasn't many cars crossing, I'm not sure.
But thank God it wasn't rush hour.
Yes?
If it were rush hour, what would happen? You would have that ship in some real doo-doo.
But not only that, why would a ship hitting it collapse the entire thing so dramatically?
I just found the entire thing just collapsing like matchsticks.
So
Was
it has
that,
to be that,
was that bridge stable?
yeah, that there had to be some issue with the bridge itself.
I'm sure all
Well,
that's
I'm
going
not
to
saying the
those
ship is not to blame. The ship,
If
of
they're
course, is to blame.
suspension bridges are very interconnected. You ever see bridges swing? You ever been on the bridges in New York or the US swing?
Mm.
Yeah, those bridges are between the uprights that are in the water. They're very interconnected. So if one part goes down, it reverberates through the rest of the bridge because it's a kind of frequency thing. I saw it on a documentary already, how easily one part affects the other parts. But that is a really, really tragic situation there. And they say as many as 20, 25 people are still in the water, so or are unaccounted for so far. So
There are quite a lot of Trinidadians that the Trinidadian diaspora that live in Baltimore.
Yeah.
yep.
Because they have their own carnival too. I think there's a Baltimore carnival.
Yeah, there's a Baltimore carnival. Anyway, that's the big news in the US is that, and the Diddy Combs and what Donald Trump continues.
And
The
the Security
drama.
Council also voted for Israel and Hamas to have an immediate ceasefire. Well, more Israel, I guess. Let me say Israel for a complete ceasefire in Gaza. Let me put it exactly how they say it. And for Hamas to also release the hostages. Of course, neither side has complied. And which brings
I
me to
don't know what it's going to roll out for because
what is the
they've
point of
been
the
taking.
Security Council? What's the point of the Security Council, really?
I don't know because nobody will
Because they
take
made
them
all
on.
of these grand statements that says, okay, you have to stop doing this and do that, but it's never, nothing is ever enforced.
They don't
Or
take
does
them
it
on.
lead to some level of enforcement now? And what are the enforcement? What is the enforcement? What sanctions? I
United
don't know.
Nations has been a toothless bulldog for decades now.
Because if you can't enforce a Security Council decision, then countries will, with impunity, just say, "Well, I'm ignoring you," which is what is happening.
Which is what has happened. Look at the Ukraine-Russia
What has
situation.
happened? Yeah, what has
Yeah,
happened?
they're going to take on a UN Security Council. They just
Yeah.
or sanctions.
This one wasn't vetoed in any way, and this silliness of certain countries having a veto. I mean, seriously.
It's actually quite hilarious if it weren't so serious. But they don't take on the United Nations.
So Russia will exercise a veto, or China will exercise a veto if it's something that the United States and Europe, the European Union generally is voting for. Then if it's something that they want, they may veto it. It's like a cat and mouse game. It's like
Yes, but larger countries do not take on these threats by the United Nations. They just don't.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I do know that Israel is a larger country, but
Well, I'm talking about countries to some level of military power, whatever.
yeah.
They just scoff at that and say whatever.
Yeah. Oh, a guest is knocking on the door.
Back at home, the Commissioner of Police, Earl Haywood Christopher, has been chastised by Justice Frank C. Prasad, saying that the commissioner cannot say, well, and I guess this is a paraphrase. I have plenty of work to do, so I can't look at all the FULs that are standing by and waiting for delayed in her for her attention, which I really find is ridiculous in truth. You understand? He said aspirants to high office should not allow its allure to distract them from onerous obligations. You know, he says for failure. 7 years this man waiting. 7 years he's waiting. I mean, come on. How is that appropriate? That someone applied for an FUL and 7 years later they still can't get word from the Commissioner of Police on whether or not the application is granted. Say yes or no and give a reason.
Yeah,
7 years?
7 years. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
But if he's waiting 7 years, it means it predates Haywood Christopher's tenure. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the ridiculous thing about it. So it's almost I do understand that. But you don't have a department for that and you just sign off. And if there's some issue, tell the man no and say this is the reason. Anyway, Justice C. Prasad has given her 28 days. Let's see if she defies the court order.
Yeah.
And the TTPS has finally admitted that it owes businessman Inshan Ishmael $0.8 million, $834,405.21 for work on TTPS cars between 2018 and 2021.
Anita Haynes is on standby for you, Paul.
She's not.
She just said she is.
Well, unless she had a different chart, I'm not seeing her, sir. She's not visible where I'm sitting here to be added to the stream, so maybe there's a little issue there. And please call the woman by her full name. She's Anita Haynes Allen now. Okay? The MP, sorry. Much to your chagrin, but...
Who's she married?
Mr. Allen.
Chinua?
Please withdraw that.
I'm just throwing out a name.
That's a name that you shouldn't throw. What, they're trying to join the parties or something?
And by this union, the future of Trinidad and Tobago politics
shall be secured.
Like a Game of
Thrones. And we shall call the offspring first one Trinidad and the second one Tobago. And they shall hold hands walking down the road in the dandelions.
Okay. It's not Chinua, people. I'm just joking.
Maybe she needs to add herself to the stream. Very often people don't do that, Steve. They press the thing to bring them up, but they don't press add to stream. Very often. Because she's not appeared in the stream so far. And she's done this before, so I know it may be just an oversight. You know you send me the press add to stream, right?
No, sorry.
Good morning, beautiful.
Good morning. How are you?
Oh my God, we feel so special. I mean, look how stunning you look at 6:25.
Thank you.
You woke up like this?
No,
he didn't tell me nothing. He didn't tell me nothing.
He didn't tell me anything like that this morning.
Because you all don't look beautiful. Because you all don't look beautiful. Such a pleasant change to the morning show. I finally have somebody who looks like me in the morning at this hour.
Oh, brother.
Good morning,
Good morning.
Mrs. Haynes Allen, and congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Haven't
Yes,
seen you
congrats.
since your nuptials.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yes. No, no.
How is
Yeah.
married life treating you? Minding your business and all that already.
That's all right. Nice. It's nice so far. Well, we've been together for quite some time, so but adjusting to being married, even the change in the name sometimes. I introduce myself as Anita Hayes still because right.
If you want to just put a ring on it. If you want to put a ring. Oh. Copyright strike.
No,
Congratulations.
never. The
I don't think
algorithm
that-
did not pick that
I
up
don't
at
think
all.
that-
It just was
yeah.
It
confused.
wouldn't pick it up at all. It didn't
Yeah.
sound anything
Confused.
familiar. But you know what I was talking about.
Yes,
Anyway,
yes.
congrats
yes.
again to you. All right, a lot happening these days. The newspapers are carrying you in full this morning, indicating that, and let me quote you properly, that while you have supported your colleague Rushton Parry's call for into the elections, you also have shown that you are supporting the leader of the opposition, Mrs. Pasalbi Sessa, in the position of party leader. Would that be
Well, yes. I mean, the question I think that we have to answer is what are we calling for, right? We're calling for internal elections. But until an election is called, you do have somebody in that position. And so the position requires the respect that it carries. And so Mrs. Prasad Bisasa is the political leader at this time and will obviously have my support in the position as political leader. But that does not prevent me from saying that elections must be called when elections are due. And we do have elections due by June of this year.
Is NATEX election the same as leadership election, or are they different, or are they conjoined?
No, in the UNC's constitution, they are different. So the national executive elections must take place every 2 years, and the leadership election takes place every 3 years. However, for the last, what I want to say, 5 internal elections that we've had, 2015, 2017, 2020, 2022, so 4. The last 4 internal elections, they have been brought all together.
So is this probably part of the confusion? Because I think Rushton Perry, in my opinion, said the same thing you said, but the response to him was vastly different. Is it because you're considered better looking than many? Oh, because he called for NATEX elections to be held when they're due in June, I think. But the
Yes,
response to him by many of his colleagues was that this is not the time to attack the political leader. And he had to clarify, he called for elections and NATEX elections and didn't attack the political leader, Mr. Pistabi says. Why do you think there's a difference in response this way?
I really can't say. I mean, it was the response that also prompted me to come out publicly and say, listen, I really don't see what the issue is. I mean, up until yesterday, after I would have done the morning brew, and I would have seen releases still coming out. And so I think it is the response that caused the confusion because as far as I'm aware, and I watched Rushton's press conference, there was no attack. There was no line of attack. It was just simply saying, let us ensure that we have elections when they are due. And I think that now we're getting publicly from the leadership that the elections will be held. That was not part of the public discourse. It wasn't part of the internal discourse either before the press conference on Friday.
It's part of the response because some people in most political parties think this should have been an internally handled situation as opposed to a press conference demanding, and I'm putting, maybe he didn't use the word, that's not the word he would use. But to many, it seemed like he was demanding the elections to be called. Who calls the elections?
The election has to be the NATEX calls the elections. It's similar to the same way the prime minister will come, go to the president to dissolve parliament, so that the persons who have the leadership reins call the elections for leadership. as for it being an internal discussion, I mean, to some level, perhaps, but I mean, I have also been grappling with the question of speaking out publicly well before Rushton would have spoken on Friday because I was part of the UNC's public meeting in Point of Air. I was on the platform and the political leaders stated that the nominations will close and screening will begin. Nominations close to the United National Congress on April 11th, and screening to begin shortly thereafter between from April, well, I guess, well, within May, which I mean, would strike concern with anybody. And that was a public pronouncement. It has been advertised on the UNC's platforms, etc. And
That
so
was
to
for the
me,
general election, right?
that is for the general election, yes.
Yeah.
But to me, that is confusing because the national executive forms the screening committee. So if we are aware and intending to participate in our internal elections when they are constitutionally due, it would make no sense to convene screening before you convene these elections because you don't know if that's going to be the same group of persons who will be doing the screening after an election.
I mean, which is logical, but is it that the UNC always holds elections when they're constitutionally due in terms of internal elections?
Mrs. Prasad Bisasa has held the elections at the appropriate time, save and except for the fact that she has joined the two elections. So rather than the leadership and NATEX going separately, they run together. So that's the only difference in terms of what the Constitution stipulates.
Is it that some in the UNC, including the leader of the opposition, are construing these calls or interpreting these calls for NATEX as some underlying intent to challenge her leadership? Hence the media furor, so to speak, that we're seeing playing out before.
Let me add to that, Richard, before Anita answers. Mrs. Pasabi Sessa is quoted as saying over the weekend that there are people whose aspirations outweigh their talents, almost seeming that was thrown at Rushton Parade to add to Richard's question.
Well, I mean, it certainly appears that way. It appears as if, like I said, the response to the call is really what has us here in this discussion because simply, okay, there's a press conference to say we are looking forward to internal elections when they're constitutionally due. The response to me would have been, yes, they will be called when they're constitutionally due. But the end, full stop, right? So that because again, there have been public pronouncements from the party over and over, we would have heard members of the current national executive, including the political leaders, state we are on an election footing, and we're going through with our again, all of these things I think they can all happen together, right? So we can be on an election footing, we can have an internal election, those things can all, in my mind, the possibility exists where we can run an internal campaign, go to a portion of the electorate which are card carrying members of the United National Congress and state what your intention is or what. So the intention of the current executive, if they all intend to run, the intention of persons who are aspiring to be on the executive who believe that they have ideas and plans to create a UNC that is more attractive and improved version of the United National Congress to take to the electorate in 2025 or whenever. And I think those things can be done, those issues can be ventilated. And once we set an example with how we conduct our internal elections, we set ourselves on a very good path for a general elections because you've already reached out to your membership. Your membership is interested, mobilized, active, empowered because they were able to vote internally and they feel that they are part of our decision-making process. And then that sets the tone as you go on to meet undecided voters, persons who are dissatisfied with the state of governance overall in Trinidad and Tobago. And so to me, those things can all happen together. The question of whether or not it's being interpreted as an attack on the leadership, I mean, if it is that a call for election or a call for improvement makes you feel defensive, well, that is something that would require some internal introspection.
It's
Those
part
are
of
kind
this.
of strong words, Anita, because you're basically saying check yourself, but in a sophisticated way.
Well, I mean, listen, that I can't, there is no other way I can conceptualize why have this type of response, you know? Uh, to me, it is part of a democracy. You must expect that in any space that you hold, that consideration must be given to saying to the members of the United National Congress, persons who would have filled out forms, paid their membership dues, etc. Say, this is what we intend to do differently so that we can have a different result in 2025. I think that ought not to be something that is unexpected.
Would you align yourself with a thought process that suggests that something that is seemingly innocuous as this call for an internal election to be held at the correct time, at the appropriate time, that has this kind of response, is just a sign of fractures that may have been there in the party before?
I wouldn't call it fractures, right? I think that if any organization exists where every single person has the exact same thought, that is a weak organization. That and especially a political organization, what you want is a diversity of thought. You want the way, so that the way we think, the way we put across our ideas, that they should be different and they should be come into some space, and we come to a consensus and we present something to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Because if you have this kind of linear organization where there is one thought process and one idea and that's all that is recycled, you do not have something that you're offering the population. So I don't consider it a sign of a fractured organization. I consider it a sign of a dynamic organization and something that we should look into about how do we build it nationally so that we can understand that differing views aren't attacks. They aren't a space where we can't have a conversation about what is the best way forward, disagree at the beginning, but one persuades the other and we move forward. Because I mean, that's the nature of life.
Well, then what does that say about the UNC at this stage in its incarnation? Because I can, one of the few ways I can characterize the response to Mr. Parry's call is he seemed to have been attacked over the weekend by people who did not appreciate him speaking out. There are even suggestions that, well, I wonder what will happen to Anita now that she's supported the call by Mr. Parry, but also at the same time supported Mrs. Passabi-Sessa. So I guess your communication may have been a bit more even tone, but he was attacked when I saw people saying, including Mrs. Passabi-Sessa, aspirations, outweigh talents. Dr. Monilal, MP for Princeton, Paddy Rath, and others seem to have come out and say, listen to me, hush your mouth, we're talking now for, we're supposed to be together and we're heading into election.
And you see, again, right, this idea of we are supposed to be together. In my mind, we are all together. Again, I looked at Mr. Parry's press conference on Friday, and I think he was also clear that we do have a duly elected political leader. So that is not within the conversation. But while you hold the position, any position, you ought not, I mean, if you have benefited from an election got you your position, you can't then now take that elected position and say there's no need for elections. You know, that is, to me, that does not take us where we need to be. And so that to have members who are currently on the national executive saying we must hold together, now is not the time. But you were elected. I mean, nothing stopped Keith Rowley from calling the election in 2022. Nothing, right? When we had the NATEX election in June. If he woke up in the morning in May of 2022 and he said, you know what? general elections in September, there's nothing the United National Congress could have done, and we would have been fully in the swing of our internal elections. So I think those things, they are being thrown in to create a conversation that I firmly believe has been unnecessary and uncalled for. And that is why I came out yesterday and back out today to say, listen, let us do better. We can perform the functions of our internal democracy while being ready for a general election. Two things can be true.
Have you gotten any personal pushback in terms of members of that same executive reaching out to you personally?
No, actually.
Is there some benchmark that was not reached that may have justified Rushton Parry's call at this time? Because you said your last missive was that, well, people who were elected should not resist an election. Was there some indication that an election was not going to be held that may have prompted Mr. Parry's call at this time? Is there a particular timeline involved that was not met?
No, we haven't met the timeline, but like I said, I think for those of us who are interested in seeing our internal processes handled in the manner they ought to be, the conversation around the creation of a screening committee, being well aware that the screening committee is created from the national executive, that it seemed to indicate that the narrative around the general elections would be used to say no internal elections. Because if you're going to have a screening committee that is comprised of an executive in May, knowing that that executive will expire in June, I mean, it would leave those of us who are thinking about it to assume that you didn't intend to call the election in June.
One of the newspapers is quoting you this morning as saying, well, I am prepared to stand by whatever consequences comes with me speaking out. Elaborate on that for us a bit, please.
The question, I was answering a direct question that was posed, which is that persons who tend to speak out within our political landscape are removed from the political landscape. So I said, well, if that's the case, I'm prepared to stand by the consequences. And so if it is that the thinking of the persons who will be making decisions going forward into 2025, that having these types of conversations in some way destabilizing to a political organization, and then that, if that is a consequence, well, then that is, I mean, I don't think that I think that the consequences of silence far outweigh the consequences of speaking out.
And the screening committee will form from the present NATEX in its present incarnation.
Well, again, from the public, from what we can only assume, because once you've closed nominations in April, and you said that you're going to go into the process of screening, then until you've called a national executive election, the only space that you can pull persons to screen from would be the current NATEX.
Is there an insecurity? Is this part of also, and there's no doubt that some political analysts suggest that Mrs. Pasabi-Sessa, this may be, and I don't want to use the term loosely, do or die for her politically. Dr. Rowley has won in 2015. Dr. Rowley has won in 2020. The UNC did gain a little ground in the local government election. But on a national scale, if Mrs. Pasabi-Sessa is not successful in 2025, it may spell the end of a political career. Is that part of the equation here?
That would be a difficult question for me to answer, because I'd be commenting on the thought process of somebody else. But I mean, look, for any political leader, it is the most important work is how you carry the party into elections. Mrs. Pasabi-Sessa has taken the United National Congress to a win in 2010. She held a coalition government in a space between 2010 to 2015. So none of these things ought to be diminished in this conversation. The successes that she would have brought to the party, having us between 18 and 19 seats. Those things ought not to be minimized at any point in time. But, there is a certain amount of consideration to the fact that we have not held office since 2015. To me, that is not the doing of any one individual. It's certainly not just the political leader, but it does put us in a place, I think, to consider very carefully what we are offering the public in 2025 and to ensure that the results are different. And so, whatever the thinking is, Mrs. Basal Bitasa, and I'll make it clear, once we've had an internal election, once you've committed to the democratic process within the United National Congress, and you've faced the electorate and you receive a mandate, people will go forward. But you can't say that these elections aren't required or that we're in the process of preparing for 2025 and that somehow our internal processes must be put in the back end of things when to me it is a sign of a growing democracy. It's a sign of what you offer the public if you can handle your internal affairs properly and then get ready for general elections.
Anita Haynes, I could listen to you and look at you all morning long.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I agree with you, Anita. It's important to speak out if you figure something is not right. I think that's what moves politics forward in a more transparent and progressive manner in Trinidad and Tobago.
In the
Other
ideal
times
world.
people are too silent.
I think the one thing you can say about me is that I have been consistent in my politics, right? If there are things, and since entering the political landscape, I have made sure that I am consistent with my politics. So if anybody would have been paying attention, you would know that I really would not have sat quietly and said, "Let us ignore democracy within our party for whatever political space we may be in 2024, 2025.
Clearly, your major is communication. It's showing. Thanks for being with us this morning. We always appreciate you with us, and congrats again on the nuptials and all the best.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good day.
Same
All
to
right, all
you.
the best.
That's a ray of sunshine this morning. Back now to the doldrums of these two.
Thank you.
I'm sunshine too. Huh?
Yeah. Man.
Shall I go into the newspapers? Because I have
Please
them.
do. Please do.
Yep, let's go.
So I'll start with the Daily Express for today. And of course, it is Monday, March 26th. It's Monday now. Thursday, March 20th. Tuesday, sorry. March
Tuesday,
26th.
Rich.
We confuse you too. We confuse you too.
Get Total Bay.
Tuesday,
Tuesday.
March 26, 2024. And the main headline in the Daily Express is Blows for Erla. That's the headline they went with. Judge outrageous that a sitting top cop would adopt a well, I have plenty work to do stance in defending 7-year delay in granting FUL. So blows for Erla is the headline. The main picture is Sergeant Philip laid to rest. Sign of respect, Police Commissioner Erla Christopher from left, Deputy Commissioner of Police Natasha George, and Acting Deputy Commissioner of Police Kurt Simon bowed their heads during the funeral service to Sergeant Larry Phillip at the Faith Assembly Church, Aruka. Yesterday, Phillip was killed along with 4 others at Hard Place, East Port of Spain on March 16th. So that's the main picture. Subheadlines, Parade, no attack on Kamla. On the back page of the Daily Express, play the soca. Pundits call for more attack-minded approach amid defeat to Canada. So that's the front and the back of the Daily Express. I move on to The Guardian. The Guardian's headline this morning, Spy Twist. That's the headline that The Guardian went with. As probe into SSA fiasco continues, special TTPS unit under Hines' purview comes into focus, concerned that it may also turn rogue. And I'm not so sure what special unit that is, Paul. Do you have any information on that?
Well, a lot of what has seemingly been happening in the SSA is being described as rogue behavior by the agency or persons in the agency.
They're saying that the special TTPS unit under Hines' purview that has now come into focus. I'm not so sure what unit that is.
Yeah, there is it RAU or there's a unit that also does some level of surveillance, apparently.
Okay. Parade not challenging Kamla's leadership. JTAM wants property tax stopped. And there's a picture of the JTAM president, Ansel Roger. Final farewell. The main picture, a mourner views the body of murder victim Randy Graves following his funeral service at the Holy Rosary RC Church in Port of Spain yesterday. Graves was one of the 5 people killed in a mass shooting at Harp Place recently. And on the back page of the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian, Grenada ready for 700 athletes. And the main picture is of the Milwaukee Bucks, Granis Antetokounmpo. I know I'm saying that name wrong. Giannis Antetokounmpo is fouled by Oklahoma City Thunder Chet Holmgren during the first half of an NBA basketball game on Sunday. So of course, I mispronounced those names entirely. I'm not. Oh, it's the. I was wondering what games Grenada is holding as the Carifta games. So that's it for the front and back of the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian. And on to the Newsday. What headline did they go with? I'll tell you. Get it right for Hannah. That's the headline. Expert need for careful analysis of DNA. Get it right for Hannah. And it's in quotation marks. Government approves $160 million water plan. And this is how it works. The main picture is that of Industrial Mechanical Apprenticeship Program, IMAP project manager Rudranath Dukaran, as he explains the use of a machine at the electrical station to the Prime Minister during a tour of the workstation at the IMAP launch at the Heritage Industrial Compound in Santa Flora. On the back page of the Newsday, National League champ Central Sports hungry for more trophies. We want triple crown. And Kraken win second regatta, stay perfect. And the main pictures of Malia David as she makes a return to Natalia Takachenko during the round of 16 catch National Junior Tennis Championship Girls Under 16 singles match on Monday. So that's it for our 3 dailies this morning in the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago.
All right. Thank you so much, Richie Rich. All right, let's get the results for our morning poll from yesterday. Yesterday, we asked you, do you think Rushton Parry's political career is over following his call for UNC's elections, executive elections, to be called? Well, the results are in, and 56% said no.
Thank you, Wendy and James. I have 2 possible questions. One is really left field, but I think you all will go with the first one. So the second option is, should Angus be replaced as the senior head coach of the Soca Warriors following TNT's 2-0 loss to Canada, which I think we can do tomorrow. The first one is, do you think the UNC will hold NATEX internal elections before the general election 2025? Based on what we discussed this morning. Is that okay?
Yeah. But should it be when it's constitutionally due in June? Or you're just leaving it generic?
Before the elections.
Yeah. Leave it generic too.
Is that okay? Leave it in.
Yeah. So do you think the UNC will hold NATEX internal elections before the general elections in 2025? That's the subject of the discussion we just had with Anita Haynes-Alain. So 222 talk, 222-8255. North Americans, 866-525-1099. People on the web and the app, you know what to do. And people on streaming platforms, you can send your votes via the streaming platforms into our comment section. And of course, people can also vote via WhatsApp at 868-318-1021. I'll leave you to call the votes.
All right. That ship that hit the bridge in Baltimore is huge. Huge. All right, we got some votes in already. Boy Badisi says yes. John Ketu says no. Good morning to Jaron Joseph. Let's see. Alan Reese says no. Slick Money Grip, no. All right, we have some calls coming in. Let's grab them. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. Sandy Grand, yes.
Yes, thank you. All right, let's see. Jean Clark says no. Julia S. Batiste says no. All right, so 222-8255, toll free. North Americans, 866-525-1099. That's our numbers directly into our studio. All right. Trini B. All right, Trini B, thank you. Do you think the UNC will hold its national executive internal elections in June 2024 when it's due? All right. Yes or no? All right. On WhatsApp at 3181021. Of course, on Facebook and on YouTube. The L says no to the poll. Anthony Miguel says no. Lester Craigwell says no to the poll. Junior says yes. Royalty Forever says yes. Trini B says no. Good morning. Good morning.
I said definitely yes.
Thank you. All right. Eve out in Sugar Guanas via WhatsApp says yes. Wayne B says no. Wayne Joseph in Ontario, Canada says no.
So our poll this morning, do you think the UNC will hold NATEC's internal elections in June 2024? You changed it.
Okay.
That's our poll this morning. What says you? Of course, we just had a conversation with Anita Haynes Allen concerning this issue. What says you? Do you think that the UNC is going to hold those elections? Yes or no? That's our poll this morning. 222-TALK, 222-8255. People in North America. Seen some votes coming in there. Did you put Finbar Collins?
No, not yet.
And Wayne Joseph? You did Wayne Joseph, right?
Yeah. Finbar says yes. Junior had said no.
Yeah, so it's 866-525-1099. People on the web and streaming services, wherever you are watching us or hearing us, you can send your vote via the messaging portal there, and we'll get it in our comment section. And of course, you can also WhatsApp us at 868-318-1021.
Yep. Cascade St. Anne's says no. Yeah. All right. From Collins, we did that.
Happy 80th birthday to Diana Ross.
Oh, you sing her songs when you're riding. You don't sing ABBA, but you'll sing Diana Ross.
I like Diana Ross. I ain't really too much of an ABBA fan. Chickadee to my foot.
Money, money, money. Do you think the UNC will hold its national executive internal elections come June 2024 when it's due?
You
Yes.
hear the drums, Fernando.
Here's a dancing queen. Da, da, da.
I don't know what that is. So you
Seventeen.
need a Panadol or something? Should we get the paramedics to come?
Yeah, and so many copyright.
So should we call
Copyright
E999?
crime.
You sound like you're in pain. Like you're having some sort of episode.
Mamma mia. So our poll, are we getting more votes there on WhatsApp, Steve? I think Steve is frozen.
No.
Mrs.
Right here.
No, I thought she was voting. She's defending me.
Yeah. All right. Well, gentlemen, we got to run into 7 o'clock news. Maraval on the road just snuck in. He said, not a chance. Not a chance. All right. Thank you, Maraval on the road. Let's get into our 7 o'clock major news. Evie is in.
This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
Anita Haynes supports the call for internal UNC elections. Over $6 billion in VAT refunds still outstanding. December 18th, deadline for government to repay loan to develop Phoenix Park Industrial Estate. President of Guyana and Suriname have instructed their respective officials to enter the phase of the construction of a bridge to link the two countries. And a judge rules Donald Trump will face the first ever criminal trial of a former U.S. president. Details in a moment. This is News to 7 o'clock on Power 102 Digital. I'm Avril Sintel-Bab. Good morning. Tabaquite MP Anita Haynes Allen has joined the short list of United National Congress MPs in support of colleague Rushton Parry's call for internal party elections to be called. Haynes Allen disagreed that Parry's call for internal elections was an attack or an attempt to destabilize the party. However, she said that she also supports opposition leader Kamla Persad-Bissassa as party leader. She said the best way to support the party leader was to call for internal elections. Speaking on the Power Breakfast show this morning, she said that conversation surrounding the issue has been unnecessary as the party can hold internal elections while simultaneously getting ready for general elections. She said the conversations around a screening committee suggests that the internal elections would not be on the front burner.
For those of us who are interested in seeing our internal processes handled in the manner they ought to be, the conversation around creation of a screening committee, being well aware that the screening committee is created from the national executive, that it seemed to indicate that the narrative around the general elections would be used to say no internal elections. Because if you're going to have a screening committee that is comprised of an executive in May, knowing that that executive will expire in June, I mean, it would leave those of us who are thinking about it to assume that you didn't intend to call the election.
Explaining a recent comment in the media on her decision to speak out on the issue, she said that she is prepared to stand by her decision, whatever the consequences.
Persons who tend to speak out within our political landscape are removed from the political landscape. So I said, well, if that's the case, I'm prepared to stand by the consequences. And so if it is that the thinking of the persons who will be making decisions going forward into 2025, that having these types of conversations in some way destabilizing to a political organization, and then that if that is a consequence, then that is sickening. I don't think that I think that the consequences of silence far outweigh the consequences of speaking.
$6.54 billion is the amount of value-added tax refunds still outstanding as at January 31st, 2024. Finance Minister Colm Imbert told the Senate on Monday the figure fluctuates from month to month based on cash flow. He was asked by the opposition through Senator Damian Lyda what is being done to ensure the situation is being addressed and whether government has a formula to deal with it. In response, Minister Imbert said the government is actively working on it. In the past, the business community had been calling for the outstanding payments to be settled. December 18th, 2024 is the deadline given for the government to repay US $95.5 million loan it got from the Export-Import Bank to develop the Phoenix Park Industrial Estate by the Beijing Construction Group. The interest is 2% per annum. The project is complete and was declared open earlier this year. Trade and Industry Minister Paula Gopiskun revealed the terms of the loan agreement signed between the government of Trinidad and Tobago and the Export-Import Bank of China. A contract between ETAC and the contractor for the project was executed on 20th February 2019. The loan agreement was described as very favorable by the minister.
The amount, RMB 688,347,000, and which is approximately US $95.5 million as at March 25th, 2024. Purpose: for the construction of Phoenix Park Industrial Estate by the Beijing Construction Engineering Group Company Limited. Interest rate, 2% per annum. Effective date, December 18th, 2019. Grace period for repayment of principal, 5 years, 60 months, ending December 18th, 2024.
Steps are being taken to ensure the residents of Mount Diablo have a regular supply of water. The assurance comes from Leader of Government Business in the Senate on Monday, Dr. Amory Brown. He was at the time responding to a question posed to the Public Utilities Minister from the opposition, which wanted to know, in light of the recent $1 million Wassa water trucking scam unearthed in the rural community of Mount Diablo, what steps would be taken to rectify the situation and ensure residents receive an uninterrupted water supply. In response, the Senate was told the community benefited from a fleet of trucks from the utility getting water free of charge. Under the Community Water Improvement Program, a pipeline project is also taking place and is at an advanced stage of implementation.
This pipeline project will provide the community with a dedicated supply of pipe-borne water. This particular project, as referenced, is already at an advanced state of implementation. WASA has already commenced a regularization process to ensure that all customers are registered with new accounts and connections to obtain a reliable supply of pipe-borne water into the future.
In news just reaching our news desk, a hunter's search and rescue team led by Captain Valance Rambarat confirmed that 45-year-old Shivam Parsuram, a contractor who was allegedly abducted in Chaguanas 8 days ago, returned home safely minutes ago. Now, this is a subject to an ongoing police investigation, so details cannot be given, but as they reach the news desk, we will continue to develop the story. You are listening to news on Power 102 Digital to 7 o'clock. Presidents of Guyana and Suriname have instructed their respective officials to enter the next phase of construction of a bridge over the Corentyne River linking the two countries. A joint statement issued following recent talks between Presidents Dr. Mohamed Irfan Ali and his Surinamese counterpart Tandrika Persad Sangtuki noted the officials will now engage in discussions on prices, technical aspects, financing, and operational modalities with a common goal of optimizing affordability and concessionality. A judge has ruled Donald Trump will face the first ever criminal trial of a former U.S. president on April 15th over hush money payments he made to adult film star Stormy Daniels. Mr. Trump faces 4 criminal cases. The presidential candidate's lawyers had aimed to delay or dismiss the case. 77-year-old Trump faces fraud charges over payments he made to Ms. Daniels before the 2016 elections. Well, finally, here is weather news for the period today until midnight. Trinidad and Tobago mostly fair except for some intermittent showery interruptions near western areas. Nighttime fair except for some brief isolated showers. You can expect a temperature of 33 degrees Celsius at Piarco International Airport and 32 degrees Celsius at Crown Point in Tobago. Currently, the temperature at Piarco is 26 degrees Celsius and it's 28 degrees Celsius at Crown Point. Recapping your headlines to 7 o'clock, Anita Haynes supports the call for internal UNC elections. Over $6 billion in VAT refunds still outstanding. December 18th, deadline for government to repay loan to develop Phoenix Park Industrial Estate. The presidents of Guyana and Suriname instruct their officials to enter the next phase of construction of a bridge linking the two countries. And a judge rules Donald Trump will face the first ever criminal trial of a former U.S. president. I'm Avril Sindilbad. That was news to 7 o'clock on Power 102 Digital. There's more news coming up in detail at 12 noon and an update at 8 o'clock this morning. For more details, log on to power102fm.com.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
Alrighty, thank you, Avril, for our major news. Of course, you could join her again. Come at 8 o'clock for our news brief. All right. Quickly, let's take a look what's happening traffic-wise. We got some traffic, a volume from Orange Grove towards Paget Road. Of course, Paget Road is a bit busy. Going through the Uriah Butler and Eastern Main Road intersection, you got some traffic there. And then from Barrett Tarrier to Port of Spain is where you got your traffic. Nothing out of Dago, nothing out of Maraval. All right, Chaguanas Main Road is beginning to build. Rivulet Road is beginning to build. Nothing to tell you about in San Fernando. A little volume as you go through Princess. But Solomon Hotroy Highway, pretty much clear all the way. All right, but there you go. All right, let's see if we have any more votes for our poll. Sunil Ramsamaru says yes to the poll. Adrian Cotto says yes. Andre Reno says no. Carol Guevara says no. Let's see if I have any on WhatsApp. Nada. All right. So, Richie Ritz, let's get the results of our morning poll.
Well, we had 26 people voting on the poll this morning. Of course, the poll this morning was, do you think the UNC will hold NATEX internal elections in June 2024?
Yeah.
We have 26 people voting on the poll.
Jaron Joseph just popped in and he said no.
We had 27 people voting on the poll this morning. Of the 27 people, 18 of you said no. You do not think that they will hold the internal elections in June. And 9 of you said yes, you think they will. So that gives us a total of 26. Of course, you can continue, 27, sorry. Of course, you can continue to vote on this poll throughout the day through all programming, and we'll give you the final results tomorrow morning, which will be midweek and Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
Pastor did not answer the phone yesterday. Pastors, after he dropped by the guns, he went into hiding. Just saying.
At least we tried.
So 222 talk.
Yes, 222 talk, 222-8255. You can take some of your calls at this point, but I'm exiting a little early, of course, as I indicated. I have some other commitments. So I'll speak to you all bright and early tomorrow morning.
Have a good day, Richard.
Ready.
I guess our guest is not logged on as yet. All right, so we'll take some of your calls by the time. And you can continue voting on our morning poll till tomorrow morning, where we'll give you the final results. All right? On our poll. Of course, tomorrow being Wednesday, then we have Thursday and Good Friday. I ordered my hot cross buns already. I did indeed. And it's 3 weeks in a row, 3 weeks, short weeks. And today is day 15 of the month of Ramadan.
Right, so the phone lines are open.
We'll take some of your calls. 222-8255, toll-free North Americans, 866-525-1099. Of course, on messages on YouTube and Facebook, and of course on WhatsApp at 318-1021.
I'm trying to send this link for Philip through the WhatsApp, but for some reason it's not going. Right, it seems to have gone now.
Okay.
It might be interesting if he doesn't log on this morning also. We'll see how it goes. The phone lines are open. You could call now.
All right, so 222-8255, toll-free North Americans, 866-525-1099. So our numbers directly into our studio. And in news out of the U.S., what's the name of that bridge? I had it just now, Let me just get the name of the bridge. The Francis Scott Key Bridge was struck by a very large container cargo ship this morning at 1:27, and the entire bridge collapsed. A truck was on it, a pickup was on it, a Nissan vehicle was on it. Construction workers were on it. I think they pulled out 2 people. Radar has shown the cars at the bottom of the water. So they're trying to rescue them.
They're saying there's several cars submerged.
Yeah.
I don't know if there are people in them. Well, more than likely there are people in them.
Well, I think I caught the end of it. I think they got 2 people out of the 20 that's supposed to be in the water.
Yeah, because it's not easy to get out of a car that's being submerged, that's going down fast.
No, it's not.
And then the car is going down with debris from the bridge.
Yeah.
It's not the car alone, it's the car and steel and all kind of stuff from the bridge. And other vehicles. So, I don't know. It is just a disaster. And of course, the mayor came out and spoke to the media, and massive rescue operations on the way. I mean, and not to mention, I guess, the damage to the ship.
Yeah, well, the bridge fell on the bow of the ship, so we get back.
Excuse me.
Get back
That's
to
a lot.
and here we are.
Come on, 222 talk, 222. You know them numbers.
Yeah. We're now as morning as we can see the ship and we can see all the debris.
And for those of you who may not have seen it earlier, we bring it back up for you all. Right up.
Here on Sky News relating to...
There it is.
Yeah. Paul, you sent the invite to the group, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. And there it is. On top the ship. Of course, the NTSB will be involved in that for sure. So let's get some of your calls going. 222-8255, toll-free North Americans, 866-525. Whoa.
How it just collapsed.
Yeah. That'd be a good hit.
The ship seemed to have struck one of the uprights too, didn't you think?
Yeah, it did.
Which is weird. I mean,
One
the
of the
ship,
columns.
yes, one of the supporting uprights.
Yeah.
Which
I'm now
seems,
seeing a aerial shot now. Ship is huge.
so it basically shattered the bridge.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Imagine you were in a vehicle and that. And then the bridge just collapses.
And then the water is cold.
And it's very, very cold water. It's freezing water.
Yeah.
So at that point, you ask yourself, why did I leave my house today again? This is not going to go well. You say a prayer and you say, okay, this is it. What a way to pass.
Yeah. You know, I always wonder about, that's...
I mean, they've had so few bridge tragedies in the U.S. over the years. Bridges are quite safe. When you're on them, you say, oh, I wonder if the bridge could fall down when I on it, boy.
But, you know, I hate to travel on a bridge. For that same reason.
Don't matter to me.
That same reason.
This is a 1 in a million thing. Come on. You're going to worry about every bridge you're traveling on because a ship might run into it.
I even wonder about our bridges that we have in Trinidad and Tobago, if they're ever inspected. And, you know, you think about how under there looks, especially Carney Bridge. I drove over the Carney Bridge this last week.
I don't think it's
not
the same, though, Steve.
I know, but still.
It's not nearly the same, okay?
No.
That's a bridge you could go over in literally 30 seconds compared to this.
You just do, you drive across.
Come on, you're answering those.
I haven't driven through that county roundabout in a while. And boy, they have a lot of stuff selling there, man. A lot of stuff. People are just, you name it, you can get it there. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. Have you heard that the guy that was missing, Parsam, returned home early this morning?
Yes,
we did. We had it on news.
Okay, thank you.
All righty. Good morning to Chris Toussaint. Hope all is well.
Yes, Jay is saying it's one of the moon pylons, which is the odd thing. It's like the captain didn't realize you were going into the upright. That's why it collapsed. It didn't hit the bridge alone. It actually decimated the support system for one of the pylons.
Yeah, that's what they're saying here. And they're saying that a lot of people in the Baltimore area won't be able to go to work today. And alternate routes will take hours. Yeah.
That's well. You're just glad that you was home when it happened.
At 1:27 in the morning. All right. It seems like our guest is not coming on today. Maybe I should get somebody. All right. You will take some of your calls also.
It's unfortunate, extremely unfortunate. And of course, the entertainment world yesterday was rattled by the news that homes belonging to Sean Diddy Combs was searched by authorities Monday because he's the target of a federal investigation carried out by the Department of Homeland Security team. That team handles human trafficking crimes. According to a senior federal law enforcement official briefed on the investigation, the probe is being led by the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York and carried out by the Department of Homeland Security Investigations Transnational Organized Crime Division. The investigation stems from many of the same allegations brought forth by several civil lawsuits filed in New York against Sean Diddy Combs with allegations of sexual assault. The last one being filed in December in federal court that included allegations of sex trafficking. There was a video yesterday of the raid taking place at the home in California with what seemed to be his two sons, Justin and Gideon's name, in handcuffs on the ground, and a female also being restrained as officers searched the home. When the federal agents enter your house, you're in serious. And of course, unconfirmed reports, because none of the major outlets are carrying this thing that went viral yesterday about his plane, his private jet apparently taking off and heading to Antigua in one report, and heading here at another report, and heading to somewhere that has no extradition treaty with the US. All sorts of unconfirmed stuff swamping the internet yesterday. But what is confirmed, is the fact that the federal agents raided his California and other home. So Cheryl is saying there was one in Miami last year. Is that a raid, Cheryl? In any case, federal agents do just raid your house just so.
Oh, no.
Okay? They don't just raid your house just so. They plan raids for months, if not years in some instances.
Mm-hmm.
And the U.S. District Attorney will probably have to sign off on the warrants for those homes, given that they are investigating very, very serious federal crimes. So,
yeah. Mrs. R, we don't know the name of the cargo ship. DL is saying, Associated Press, they have a live drone feed on YouTube. Yes, it did struck one of the pylons. And J97 is saying, have you driven over the Cook Reed Bridge heading in or out of St. James? He has concerns about the bridge. Yeah.
222 talk 222-865.
What?
8255. Sorry, 222-8255. 868-318-1021 for WhatsApp. You can call now. Good morning, Zena. 222 talk 8255. Toll free. If you are in North America, 866-525-1099. Phone lines are open. We're talking about Anita Haynes and the UNC and Rushton Parade and what you all think about that. Our question this morning is, do you think the UNC will hold NATEX? According to Mrs. Haynes Allen, the fact that they've started the process for general elections, it doesn't seem to her that there will be an internal elections. We'll wait and see. And although Mrs. Haynes Allen has said that this is good in a democracy, yes, discussion is good, but discussion in civil tones is good, but some of the commentary against Rushton Parry have been tantamount to attacks, and not in the best, not in a subtle way. He has come out and reiterated that his call for NATEX election to be held in June was not intended to be an attack on the political leader. He's also said he still supports the political leader, but that's not how it was received by as many as 12 MPs over the weekend. Came out in support of Mrs. Prasad Bissessar and her leadership, telling him in some instances, and I'm paraphrasing here, why you're creating confusion, why you hush him out, etc., etc., etc. So I think that given that this is the same executive that is going to, I guess, depending on how the Constitution is written, screen candidates for the upcoming general election, it will be interesting to see if both Rushton Parry, Rushton Parry, Anita Haynes, I think the other one is Rai Ragbeer, who also came out there too. Well, Rodney Charles don't really matter because he doesn't know the political career of the party is over. After this, he's already stated his intention not to go back up. But these three, who are all MPs, it'll be interesting to see if they are given the nod for next year.
Paul, we lost you.
That was Philip calling to ask from the interviewers.
And you said no.
Mm-hmm. So he said, give him 30 seconds.
Okay. You got down.
Oh, yes.
Got it right there. All right. They're looking for 7 people in Baltimore.
What is that? From 7 cars or?
No, 7. They're looking for 7 people itself. They didn't say. I didn't see a ticket tape. But I can't put on the volume, so I'm just reading whatever is on the screen.
Well, there's going to be a massive investigation into that.
There is going to be a massive investigation, and then they're going to hold the ship captains responsible. And of course,
probably lose his license.
Probably. Well, Well, then again, if there are deaths, he may be charged. I don't know.
No.
So
I mean, he ain't run into the bridge, he run into the upright.
The pylon, yeah.
If there was, you don't know, there may have been mechanical failure on the ship.
You don't know.
And the lost steering, the ability to steer.
The lost thrusters and.
It would be interesting if this is the first time this ship has tried to traverse this under this bridge. That's the weird thing about this because ships pass under bridges all the time.
Mm-hmm.
The US and the UK, all over the US, all over Europe. But to go directly into the upright, which is and that is a big ship. So the force that ship will hit that pylon will basically shatter it, and the bridge just collapsed under the weight and the reverberations. I mean, they're saying
a victim is in very serious condition. 7 people are unaccounted for, so which they're doing a search for.
Did they say what time this happened?
1:27 this morning.
Well, thank God it was that time.
Mm-hmm. Can you imagine with Russia like now?
CNN reporting 2 people saved from water after bridge collapse.
Yeah, they got 2.
Divers are searching frantically because of also the deadly water temperature is a factor.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean that water is freezing, so you're not going to survive long in that water. You're probably going to hypothermia very, very quickly. If you survive the fall, I thought we need to buy a watch for you.
Good morning. Good morning, sir. Good morning, everyone.
I wasn't calling you after this.
If
it was mainstream media, you're gonna be on time and here.
Not at all. I turned down everybody to come on your show, Paul. Let me tell you, I have like children to still get to school and things. I was making pasta. I apologize for being late.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for all of your numerous, countless viewers, listeners around the world.
Would you care to answer a poll question this morning?
Answer anything from you. Let's go.
Our poll question this morning is, do you think the UNC will hold the NATEX internal elections in June of 2024? It's a point of contention now in the UNC.
I don't think I am qualified to answer that question. Like most other people who are not members of the UNC, that is UNC internal business. If you want me to weigh in on why they shouldn't, I could.
Go right ahead.
This is a ploy to turn internal UNC business into public confusion for public consumption. Internals are a crossing of swords and a fighting for territory, as you're aware, and a lot of stuff comes out, and it's perfect for it to come out in the first 2 to 3 years after a general election, but not leading up to a general election. Now, I have said repeatedly for 150 million years, if we had fixed election dates, we would all be able to plan our business around that, like the Americans do with their 2 years of primaries that Anita Haynes referred to in an interview at another media house yesterday. But we don't have that. You cannot get caught with your pants down when you know that the government that you're fighting is collapsing around itself and may need to snap an election. And I believe all of these talks about internals with every other party is a ploy to destabilize and throw them off balance so that the PNM could have a full run at the elections.
A ploy by whom?
If you're hearing that dog howling,
that's all right. Dogs live in the country.
His name is Bruno. He's 2.5 months old and he's very possessive. A ploy by whom? There are people that are enjoying their best lives under this PNM government, and they do not want another government now. They didn't anticipate that they would be changing in midstream, as it were, and that there is a lot of information that could put a lot of people in a lot of trouble. This version of the UNC coming out of the experience with the People's Partnership is not the same animal, especially with Kamala at the helm. I trust that this time they will know to do exactly like Manning did and Rowley did and start a witch hunt immediately upon taking office and prosecute those in the private and public sector who have taken advantage of the public's trust.
You know what a witch hunt is, right?
What's this?
You know what a witch hunt is, right?
Hunting for witches.
Yeah, well, in the euphemism, a witch hunt is usually referred to when you're talking about something that's not valid, that you're just going after people for going after them sake.
I know, but it's the analogy that we use in Trinidad, so I just thought I'd use it too. I could use any others if you like, but like I keep explaining to Robert Amar, who tells me every time that we use the word race, it really should be ethnicity. I say, Robert, Venezuelans came to Trinidad and found that we were calling empanadas arepas, and they fight for about the first 2 years, and then they realize, you know what, Trinidadians stuck in their ways, so Venezuelans who know that empanadas are not arepas call empanadas arepas while they're in Trinidad.
The big question, you've been very vocal in the lead up to local government election, and before that, you know, quite frankly, because you've been advocating for a while before forming the People's Empowerment Party, talking about the shortcomings, and I'm being very, very polite here, about both the PNM and the UNC. Both Dr. Rowley and Mrs. Pasabi Sessa, both saying that you're saying, and I'm paraphrasing here, you could correct me, and you say I'm going off kilter. Two sides of the same coin, not worthy of this country, not worthy to lead this country. This one X, that one Y. And now, a couple of months ago, you dropped out of the scene, and then you came back and said if you got 350,000 votes, you'd come back into active politics. Did you get that 350 petition votes signed?
All of that is just politics. Paul, you know that? It's like Gary saying he's going to fight Rowley and Diego Martin West. And then yesterday he announced he's going up against Terence D'Alsing to force the UNC into an accommodation. That's politics. Politics is one thing today and another thing tomorrow, unfortunately. And we rely on some media to conveniently forget and others to conveniently remember. I dropped out of politics because it appeared that an entire organization, the state, was pressed into the service to destroy Philip Alexander. That changed when we started winning everything, and then all of a sudden it was possible again for Philip Alexander to put his voice back into politics. I, however, have done this for a long time. As you've said, I've been an activist for almost 30 years. I've done a lot. My accomplishments are bigger than most politicians who have held public office, and I was cool. I'm okay. Having dropped out, because that's a hard step to take, and getting my peace of mind back, my life back, my happiness back, the last thing I want to do is get back into politics. And you could tell by my tone this morning, you could say just about anything you want. It doesn't matter to me anymore because I am not fighting for anything other than to break the hand of the contract mafia that are destroying this country, and they're using this PNM to do it. Will they try to use the UNC to do it? Sure. I trust them to do that. Will they be able to get through? I don't know. Kamala has been wandering in the wilderness for 2 whole terms. Maybe she's a lot wiser. I know for certain if the PNM stays there, they'll destroy this country. So I have to take a chance with the only other lever that is available.
You say that's just politics. Isn't that the very kind of politics that you were fighting against a couple of months ago?
Absolutely.
You are on record as saying that these leaders, and I'm paraphrasing here again, cannot be trusted. They say one thing today and they say something else tomorrow. It seems you've joined the very band and approach that you've been advocating against for years.
Well, it could look that way, but not everything is as it appears. I have never held public office for all the things that I've done. A lot of people think that I'm in a public office the amount that I do. So I've never held public office, and there's a difference. You, Paul Richards, me, Philip Alexander, could do whatever the hell we want today, say whatever the hell we want today, because we're not in public office. Well, I mean, you're a senator, but you're not a minister. You don't affect the day-to-day operations of the Treasury and the Ministry of National Security. And until you're in public office, because that is when you should be bound by what you say. And I want to tell you something else.
Also, you can say what you want. You can say what you want.
Politics
before.
You
could say what you want before. No, let me finish. You could say what you want before. Because this is an issue of integrity and trust and people having the ability to believe what you say. You could say what you want because that's politics. You could say what you want yesterday. You could say what you want last year. You could say what you want 3 years ago. You could have a perspective. You could espouse a particular philosophy. And because you're free to get up tomorrow morning and say something else, the public must say, oh, it's politics. Let me go. Why should the public?
You just gave a state funeral to a man who said politics has a morality of its own. He was speaking about himself. He wasn't talking about others.
And because he said it, and because it may have been saying that doesn't mean that it's in the interest of.
You could do me the honor. Just let me finish because I do you that honor. Okay.
Go ahead.
When Jack Warner said today was today and yesterday was yesterday, it applies to everybody. And if you use this show this morning to take to task everybody, Keith Rowley, when he stood up and said, not one person from Belmont, not one person from Cascade, not one from St. Anne's, 100% Chinese labor on the Napa. I don't forget, I don't have to have a research team. I can sit down here and quote everybody for you to live long day. But at the end of the day, politics in Trinidad and Tobago is literally dealing with the situation as it changes, as it appears before you. What I do know is for far too long, too many in the lodge and the secret societies have been able to hide and manipulate the country to their own financial benefit. And that is what I have been dedicated to stopping all of my political career. So if you pull at all the threads, even though they look different in the tapestry of my political history, you'll see they all one common thread. Fighting that, my uncles and my aunties that trying to destroy Trinidad and Tobago so they could get rich and go and live in Florida.
So which of the statements? So you're saying politics is time-bound and situational. And you can, and anyone else, not only you, politicians can bob and weave.
Only me is held to it. Only me you will.
I don't think that's a true statement.
You wouldn't question Timothy Hammersmith and
you absolutely.
Of a man who said politics has a morality of its own. You would not ask Karen Mr. Shaw when you
I have directed in the past that question to Basdeo Pandey himself on more than one occasion.
I'm saying to
I will challenge Karen Teixeira and Timothy Hammersmith in the same way I'm challenging you. We're talking about
Paul, you and I, we are simpatico in most things. And like you, I want a better Trinidad and Tobago. Unfortunately, there are no rules. This is a wild, wild west. In Trinidad and Tobago, the only way to get to where you can fix it is through politics. And our politics is disgusting, it's nasty, it's racial, it's corrupt. We have hundreds of millions of dirty drug dollars come out election morning to pay gangs to go out and vote. I'm not in the Senate. I can't raise those issues. The only thing I have is my bully pulpit and my big voice. And if today have to be something different so that we can remove the gnarly fingers of that contract mafia from the Treasury, I have to do what it takes. Because at the end of the day, when I lie down in my bed to sleep, I know that my motive and my incentive always is a better Trinidad and Tobago, not Philip Alexander.
So the public listening now, they should take you at your word now, or may that change next
week? Word is the same every time. Depending on who the animal is that we're fighting, I am a champion for the people and I lead the fight. Trinidadians are smart enough to see and understand and take sense out of nonsense. That I have found that in the past that there have been reasons to stand up against all of these political parties. But right now, and I'm saying to you again, the UNC to me, and the reason I have asked for nothing, the reason I have not joined the UNC, the reason I'm not in an alliance with the UNC, I am supporting the UNC. I want Kamla Persad-Bissessar to remove Keith Rowley as Prime Minister because that is the only option available.
So your objective is not political office or a seat in parliament.
Not at all.
Your
not in
objective
any way interested.
is entirely to remove the PNM from office.
Entirely. Actually, it's beyond the PNM. It is the puppet masters that controls that puppet. It's the contract mafia, it's the lodge boys. It is those that controlling media this morning that would block my voice that they used to have every morning on TV with Hema and Fazir. Even though I never held a public office, I was there more than Faris, and he was the PRO of the PNM. But when I formed a political party to go up against these people, they knew that I know, and they want my voice silenced. That's why in the history of Trinidad and Tobago, nobody else has ever had 10 lawsuits of defamation. You know what? Right now, we win 8. I have 2 more, and those in appeal. We're going to win those 2. And after that, we're going to be talking about that. But that's what I face to fight for Trinidad and Tobago. So when you say that I flip-flop, I have to flip-flop here, Paul. Because I can't come and pull you on the rest of Power 102 out of the station and take you along the road with me. I can't force Trinidadians to see sense. I can't force Trinidadians to realize that the country is being destroyed and stolen right before their eyes. $3 trillion is the estimation that we've made in the past 60 years. We have nothing to show for it. We're building 2 more desalination plants, but we get more water falling from the sky for free that we can ever use. Tell me what you think I should do, because I'm willing to shut up and leave, you know. I talk straight. I'm willing to pack up and go somewhere else that works.
So is it that you're admitting then, I guess, like Gary Griffith, I called the name, that you know that the parties, the smaller parties, the newer parties like yourself, like the NTA, like the COP, like Hope, cannot have an significant impact on general elections. So that's what you're admitting.
You and me could say this morning. When Philip Alexander tells it to you, you could believe it. Because Philip Alexander contested a general election, a local government election, 3 by-elections without dirty drug money, without contract mafia money, without political investors and speculators, without joining with anybody and using any recycled politicians. I actually did it. I gave Trinidadians the chance to see, to say, to come, to do, and we didn't. So if you're asking me if parties outside of the racial divide that you call the smaller parties, because all parties small, you know. All parties is 5 and 6 people that actually control the PNM, the UNC, the Progressive Empowerment Party, the NTA. It's a handful of people that control the party.
But you know what I mean.
And the rest of the people is the followers.
So there was an ultimatum given. I don't know if it's an accurate representation of what you said, where the newspapers carried a couple of weeks ago. It's Gary or me. As seemingly an ultimatum to Mrs. Persad-Bissessar and the UNC. Was that an accurate representation of what you would have said?
It was not an accurate representation. What I said was when he fell out with her and started to attack her publicly was one of the motivations for me to step up and say, hey, I will defend her against him because I know what he does. And I know how he plays. He's a bit of a bully. So I came to defend her. Then he all of a sudden decided to go on Stefan Ray's show and say he back. So I said, listen, when I jumped in, there was no NTA, there was no Griffith. I just need clarity because I still am not sure as to what his role and place is, who his backers are, who his support is, what's his agenda. I don't know, but I know mine and I know my position. And I've been very, very clear on my position my whole life. I have fought all these fights. I've taken all of that. I've done a lot. I've done more for more people than most politicians alive or dead. So I can say these things today with a clear conscience. Paul, that's my purpose. I want a better Trinidad and Tobago for you and me. That's it. So
how have conversations or discussions with the UNC been going?
Cordial. They're very happy. They're ecstatic. The day after I made my announcement, the 2 days after was on Monday night, they almost brought out the ukuleles and started to sing Kumbaya. The party was smiling. They felt empowered. Philip Alexander was not fighting them. He's bringing his powerful voice to make sure they get in the office. They win. They're going to win. I am silent on Gary Griffith and the NTA this morning because Kamla Persad-Bissessar asked me for a ceasefire. We're going to give a ceasefire for a while. But I'm not expecting anything from any party, including the UNC. I want to put the UNC in office. I am going to show people that without being in the party, without getting anything in return, I could accomplish that.
But Mrs. Pasabi says it seems more effective than the United Nations to broker a ceasefire between Philip Alexander and Guy Griffith. That is what happened.
She asked politely, and I agreed because I saw what was going on. She didn't want to get distracted from it, and I agree with that. I'm going to help her. When I give somebody my word, Paul, you can bet on it. My word is I'm going to help her. I'm going to help her with the internal struggles that I understand. Plenty money.
But you're saying your word is your bond, but you've been advocating in the public domain, and you just said what happened yesterday, what I said yesterday is null and void in the political landscape.
Never said those words. Never said. And you can
correct me. Please correct me. Please correct me.
Yeah, but I never said that. I said the situation in politics in Trinidad is consistently fluid. Who knew they would wake up one day to find Paul Richards or Helon Francis in the Senate? Who knew? It is a fluid situation. Who knew a former senator would end up owning an energy giant company that owed Republic Bank that winded up now the taxpayers and unfoot the bill? Who knew? It is a fluid situation. What you have to do is keep your eye on the prize, and the prizes are better Trinidad and Tobago. And at some point, I fought Jack Warner. At some point, I had to fight Jack. And another point for the people at Digger Martin, I had to work with Jack Warner. I'm the reason they have a bypass at 4 roads, and it saves them 4 hours every day to go home. Politics is a fluid thing. It's a fool that would stand up and say, this is my line in the sand, and I can't move beyond this line in the sand because you'll be stuck with you on the sand. If you have an objective, which is a better Trinidad and Tobago, that is my objective, you'll have to do what it takes sometimes. And when Bastio Pandey said he had sliding morals, that politics required him to sleep with the devil, I understand it. Sometimes you have to go to hell for a heavenly cause.
Are you willing to sleep with the devil for the cause?
I've been a whole lot of times, but I don't.
Could you repeat that first, please?
You didn't get on the recording? In my mind, I wanted to choose the word.
Say it again. Oh. Say it again, Philip. Say it again.
I've been a whore. Paul, we've all. We've all.
Just say it one more time so I can make sure I can put it in a great meme. I can put it in a great meme.
When the show done, clip that and just hit repeat. But we all.
Oh yeah. So are you saying, Philip, and I'm being very serious, is that you are being a political whore?
I've been a political whore. If I look back on it and I be honest, everybody could. You could sit down. Listen, this is why I asked repeatedly for debate, you know. It's not just what we want to do, what we say we could do, it's what we're capable of doing, what we've done, and our whole track record, public and private life. I see in politicians owning massive houses in Goodwood Park, that if you look at their resume and the jobs that they've had, the salaries they've been paid, it don't add up. Where's the Integrity Commission? I see people in Trinidad and Tobago driving vehicles that being the small business that they work couldn't pay for. I see people getting land from the state and $1 million contracts from the state that they're not even in that business. And there's nobody asking those questions. This is the reality of our situation. You and I know that. This morning, you have a big voice too, Paul.
Yes, there are a lot of questions that are not asked of the people that it should be asked of. But people could say that of all political entities in this country.
Absolutely.
But
they're brave to ask Philip because there is an agenda to put obstacles in Philip's path. I understand that. It's made me stronger. I am a powerful political adversary or ally. I know that. I know that when I said that I was going to make sure that Kamla Prasad will win the next election, Keith Rowley and a hairy back fella end up in a meeting in public. People take pictures and send it to me and say, look what you caused. Because they started to panic. They knew it was going to change. All of this that they unleash in the UNC right now with its internals, all that nonsense, that's because of that. They thought the UNC was embattled enough with Gary that they could have called a snap election and the fighting between the UNC and Gary would have kept them back. I here to say, listen, we need to end what is going on here politically or the country will die. That's our reality today.
How have the membership of your party, who've stood by you through quite a lot, responded to this change in direction?
Paul, like you, people come into my life and people leave my life. I will always, Billy Joel said that so many people in and out of my life, some will last, some will just be now and then. Life is a series of hellos and goodbyes. Some people are unhappy. Some people's ambitions exceed their capacity. I can't stop for every person and deal with every sore point they have to address. This is big picture politics. This is put on your big boy drawers and your big girl panties and show up with the country right now. Sit down talking to you. My daughter eating breakfast late for camp because the country more important. When I go inside, I set a talk at a take because Paul Richards called, go and do the interview. Trinidad important. It's important, and all of us have to sacrifice.
One of the persons I chat did bring up something that has been floating around the ether. Is it that the UNC's paid off your judgment debts? That is something that people have been asking.
Absolutely not. We are winning. The first one, this Paul Whitner, let him talk the talk. My mouth big. I tell him last night. They had to play hide and speak. Philip has come with his 3 Christian names, Philip, Edward, Alexander, and talk. So when I come to talk about what I've experienced with those court cases, Trinidad is going to hear that too. I'm just waiting for these last 2 to wrap up.
How do you respond to people who are saying,
yes, I want to say this.
Okay.
No political party, no politician has ever been able to bribe me as work out in fitness center in Starlight. And there are 5 senior P&M financiers who's work out there. And every single day they want to find a way to find a price to make Philip come on board. I am not that. If I was that, look at me. Look at how I look, hear how I sound. I am the brightest politician you will ever interview. And I will still take no position nowhere unless it fits in with the plan for a better Trinidad and Tobago. You think I've not been offered from all sides forever? Forever.
But you just said that you're willing to do anything. You know what that means, Philip? That is exactly what I have heard you fight against for so many years. You just admitted you're a political whore. You're willing to do anything.
Paul, but I'm saying to you, you have been in situations in your company, I am certain, where you've had to be a whore. That is life. We have to compromise ethics. We have to compromise ethics at times. Big picture.
No.
If you think that the end justifies the means, and for me, my life's body of work, I am the founder of the Jericho Project. People know Akil Chambers' name because of me. Pauline Barrett, Sean Luke's mothers talk to me every single day. Andrea Barrett's fathers talk to me on a regular basis. March with me, walk with me, light candle with me. Keith Rowley going and meet 4 Pariah divers because of me. I have stood for people who had no representation.
In the last 2 minutes, you said you want nothing out of this. You have no interest in any seat. Your only interest is unseating the PNM. What is going to be arrangement with the UNC and Mrs. Pasabi Sessa?
If I was to ask her for one thing, I would ask her for the job and the team to go after all of those embedded trolls and moles whose job it is to keep the votes in the state agencies packed with money to pay to people for contracts that may or may not have been completed, that are there to destabilize governments. I want to go after them because I know them by name. I know which church, temple, and mosque they go to. I know what school they go to. I know them. And I want to be able to go and say, fire this one. Get this one out of this public office. The only way you're fixing Trinidad and history, if you're a student of history, you would know that sometimes the vision for the country that you want is going to take strong people taking strong action to pull it together for the weak. And that's my role.
Are you willing to work with Gary Griffith in that case?
I will bite my lip, hold my nose, cross my fingers. Gary and I were friends. I do not like some of the people that are around Gary Griffith. I've told him that publicly, privately. It is the source of any discomfort between us. I I still focus on a better. I still a believer. I'm a prisoner of hope. I'm a believer in a better Trinidad and Tobago. I've put things into the public space that everybody quotes now because they know there's a fact and they believe it. I believe in a better Trinidad and Tobago. That's what I'm prepared to fight for.
I want to thank you for the meme this morning that you supplied to Power 102 Digital, which I guarantee you.
It won't be the first. It won't be the first meme.
Philip,
People
thank you
still
so much.
walk up to me and say 9 o'clock in the morning. Paul, I apologize if I was late. I think I was, and I apologize. I literally had to run upstairs and throw on this.
But I'm still happy that you made the effort to make it. So thank you.
I apologize for being late. I apologize for missing the last one. But I want to say this work that you're doing, brother. You're brave. You're a strong voice. Don't lose it. We need you and everybody else like you rowing in the same direction if we're going to get a better Trinidad today.
Thanks a lot, Philip. Have a good day. Be safe.
You too, brother.
All right. Philip Alexander. The man say I am a...
Don't say it.
Because somebody can record it if I say it. And they'll pull out that little piece and they'll put it right next to Philip and they'll say, hey, look, two. Have a great day. You all be safe. And we'll join you again, God willing, tomorrow morning.
Yeah. We'll catch tomorrow.
This is a really interesting job. I'll always say that. Very.
It is indeed. All right, Paul. I'll see you in a bit. Oh, boy. All right. Folks, AV is in. So let's get in.